Hello, everybody, and welcome to this very special 20th episode of the Day or Night in the Desert podcast with James and Zach. I'm James, along here with my co-host Zach. How's it going today?
How's it going, James? How are you?
Really well, and we hope you guys are doing well too. But we got some really good content to get into today, so we're just going to get right into it. The Las Vegas Golden Knights advanced to their third Stanley Cup final in 9 years as a team after beating the Colorado Avalanche, who had the best overall record in the NHL. And not only did the Vegas Golden Knights beat the Colorado Avalanche, but they did it in a 4-0 sweep. They won Game 4 2-1 to sweep the Colorado Avalanche. And just one of the most shocking series that I've ever been a part of, because I don't think anyone expected the Colorado Avalanche to get swept. So I'm just going to turn it over to Zach. What's your initial reaction to one of the best teams in NHL history, and definitely the best team this year, losing this game?
I was in shock. I thought that Colorado Avalanche team would have come out with a lot more firepower in each of those 4 games, but the Golden Knights were just too much for the Avalanche to handle. And I don't know what to say. I'm shocked because I thought Colorado was going to come out a lot more meaner, tougher, ready to go each game, but that just wasn't the case. And now the Golden Knights will await the winner out of the Carolina Hurricanes and Montreal Canadiens series, which is 2-1 Carolina, and that series is also just great. Both those two teams are up and down the ice doing what they do, and it's just going to continue to be a good series, and I hope that it at least goes 7 games, but we'll see. But I was just shocked.
It's pretty amazing what the Vegas Golden Knights have managed to do throughout these Stanley Cup playoffs, sweeping the Anaheim Ducks and then they went 5 games with Anaheim, but then they swept the Colorado Avalanche in 4 games. So I'm going to predict that the Vegas Golden Knights are going to actually win the Stanley Cup. I think they'll end up playing the Carolina Hurricanes, but from what I've seen from them, they've gotten better as this postseason has gone on. The experience of guys like Mark Stone and Jack Eichel has really played into, I think, what they've been able to do in this playoffs. And I also have to say this. I think that Mammoth series is looking better and better by the minute. I mean, to just see the team that beat us and that we had a chance to beat in most of those games, for them to go this far, it just gives me a lot of hope that the Mammoth are actually really getting close to where they want to be. And I'm really excited about next year for the Utah Mammoth. But I do think it's going to be Knights Hurricanes in the Stanley Cup Finals, and I have the Knights winning. I'm going to say in 6 games. So
I had the Carolina Hurricanes in Game 7, and it's going to be an overtime 5-4 win. And I think that series is just going to be unreal. It's going to come out to the very last minute of the game, but the Carolina Hurricanes are going to come away with a Game 7 win, 5-4 in overtime.
Yeah, very good stuff there. And I think Zach's right. It's going to be a very interesting series. We're obviously predicting different teams, but I think that overall it's going to be one of the greatest Stanley Cup finals ever. And so I just can't wait to see who comes out of that series, and it's going to be really exciting stuff. We got to get into some NBA action here because the New York Knicks are going to the NBA Finals. Speaking of sweeps, the Knicks swept the Cavs after a 130-93 win Monday night to complete the Eastern Conference Finals sweep and go to the NBA Finals for the first time since 1999. Karl Anthony Towns leading all scorers with 19 points, 14 rebounds, and 3 assists, followed by OG Anunoby, who had 17.7 rebounds and 4 assists for New York. New York, pretty amazing playoff run. They swept both the Sixers and the Cavaliers. So really great stuff from the New York Knicks. Just tell us what you thought about that, and tell us your thoughts also on the Spurs Thunder series.
I really thought that the Cavaliers just tanked that whole series. They had no firepower. Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, they couldn't get anything going at all in those 4 games. And the other players they weren't on the same page. That team just wasn't the same team that I saw throughout the season. It turned out that the Knicks were just too much for the Cavs to handle. And I predict that the Knicks will win the NBA Finals in 6 games. If they play the OKC, I don't know if they can give them a great series like the Cavs, but I think it's going to be OKC and the Knicks, to be honest. But as much as I want to see that series, I would also like to see San Antonio and New York. I think San Antonio could give New York a run for their money. So it's going to be interesting to see who the Knicks will play, but my guess it's going to be the Knicks and the OKC Thunder.
Yeah, initially I had the Spurs in 7 games against the Thunder, but we saw what happened in Game 5 with the Thunder just doing their thing against the Spurs. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 32 points, an unbelievable night for him. It just seems like the Thunder are almost too much for the Spurs to handle, but to be honest, I could say the same thing about the New York Knicks. I mean, 2 sweeps in a row, getting to the NBA Finals. Everyone's been skeptical of their ownership with James Dolan and their front office, but they were right on with the Jalen Brunson trade. They've been right on with getting Karl Anthony Towns on that team from Minnesota. And we've just seen how within a couple of years it's all come together. And I hope that this gives fans something to be hopeful for with their teams, because I think a lot of fans these days are kind of impulsive and they don't really want to trust the process and they want to blame the coach or they want to blame certain players. I think the Knicks teach us that sometimes in order to get it right, you only have to get it right once. You know, sometimes you can be wrong for a long time. We saw that with the Knicks. They were struggling. Their fans were getting irritated, but sometimes it just takes a couple of good players and a couple of good, teams with good chemistry and a good coach, and it can really make a tremendous difference in the overall trajectory of your franchise. With the Knicks, it's put them in a position where they can now really be in contention for an NBA championship. And while I do have either OKC or the Spurs winning the NBA Finals, whoever wins that series, I do think the Knicks are going to give them a series. And to be honest, I don't think anybody out there should be sleeping on the New York Knicks. They have come so far this year. We've seen their best stuff in this postseason. So I don't think anybody out there should be sleeping on the New York Knicks. And I think Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns are going to continue to have a big impact. I think it's going to be a 7-game series, whether they play the Spurs or the Thunder. I think that series is going to go 7 games. I'd like to see the Spurs get to an NBA Finals. At this point, it's looking like it's going to be the Thunder, but we'll see what happens. If the Spurs can force Game 7, it'll make things interesting. But I do have that being a 7-game series. While I have the Western Conference champ winning the finals, I certainly would not be sad or embarrassed in any way if the Knicks came out of it. I think it'd be awesome for that city, and I do think they have a great chance to win an NBA championship.
Let me ask you something. What do you think about Landry Shamet? He came out clutch in this last game. How do you think his game has affected this series so far?
It's been pivotal. I mean, the Knicks, they seem to finally have it all. They have Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson as starters, but you look at guys like Shamet, Karl Anthony Towns, so many other guys on this team have come through in big moments. And the Knicks are not just reliant on their top talent.
They also have Jose Alvarado and former Jazzman Jordan Clarkson. Shout out to Jordan for getting to the NBA Finals. It is a great accomplishment for him, and I just wish him the best going forward into this series. And I hope that he comes away with an NBA championship.
Absolutely. It'd be awesome to see guys like that. And they've also contributed to the depth of this team. We've seen a lot of great things from the New York Knicks. So big congrats to them. We'll see what happens in games 6 and 7 of the Thunder Spurs series, but I think that's going to be a great setup for the NBA Finals. So it'll be exciting to see what happens.
The NCAA has denied quarterback Brendan Sorsby a request to be reinstated for the 2026 season, even as Texas Tech president has backed Sorsby's desire to return to the Red Raiders. James, what do you think of all of this? Do you think this was kind of wrong for that quarterback to go after the NCAA with his lawsuit? And will this affect his career going forward?
I mean, look, I think it speaks to a much bigger issue, in my opinion, because I think gambling is a big issue in sports. We know that Brandon Sorsby had a gambling problem, was betting on some games. So obviously consequences must be had. And I think that, the integrity of the game is super important. And so I do respect Brandon Sorsby for his willingness to go into rehab and get help with it. He says he's doing much better. But nonetheless, I think accountability still needs to be taken. And I think Brandon Sorsby should at least sit out some games to be held accountable for what he did. But at the same time, I wish him well. I hope he has a good rest of his career. I certainly am not rooting against Brandon Sorsby, but accountability has to be taken, and they need to not have a tolerance policy for gambling. And I think that the integrity of the game is too important. You can't be doing that. And so while I wish Sorsby well, I understand that the NCAA has to do what they have to do and step in a situation like that.
I know you said that he should just sit out a couple games. I think that he should sit out a whole season, not just a few. That's not as harsh of a punishment as sitting out one full season. I think that needs to be taken into effect that one season you should not be allowed to play for gambling games, and just the NCAA has to put their foot down. They can't just have him sit out 3 or 4 games and said, oh, everything will be fine after that. No, they have to give him a severe consequence. One season, you're banned. You can't have any contact with the Red Raiders. But at the end of the season, hopefully maybe he can come back for the 2027 season. But right now, he needs to face the consequences. And I understand that the NCAA has a job to do and they have to hand down a consequence. But to sit him for 3 or 4 games, I just don't think that's enough. I think it's one full season that he cannot play.
Yeah, I actually probably have to agree with that. They have to, the NCAA has to send a message, and there can't be tolerance for betting on sports, and especially when you play for a team. So I do think one season, I just want him to get right and have a good rest of his career beyond that, but he needs to face the consequences of his actions, and I can't agree more with that. So
let me ask you one more thing. Do you think he's an NFL talent quarterback to go into the draft after probably next year or the year after?
I mean, we saw what he did at Cincinnati last year. I thought he looked like a good quarterback. I think it'd be a good thing if he's out, because it would mean that the youth wouldn't have to face him this year. Do I think he's an NFL quarterback? I think it remains to be seen. Obviously, he needs to serve his punishment and then get back to focusing on playing football. But hopefully, he just keeps his career on track. I certainly wish him well, but there's consequences that needs to be faced, and if that jeopardizes his NFL career, he can't go out and blame anyone but himself. So I think that it's just a waiting game. We have to see what happens. I do think he has that kind of potential, but, stuff has to be done.
There's also the UFL, to be honest. If he can't make it into the NFL, there's that route. And maybe if he does good in the UFL, maybe he will get a shot at the NFL. But right now, I think that this is really going to affect his career going forward. But I just hope that he gets right and can get back to the game that he loves. To be seen, I don't know if he's an NFL quarterback because of this issue.
We got some NBA coaching stuff to get into today. Joe Mazzulla of the Boston Celtics was named NBA Head Coach of the Year on Tuesday night. He led the Celtics to 56 wins in the 2025-2026 season and the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, despite Jason Tatum missing most of the year with a torn Achilles. So I know the Celtics didn't make it super far in the playoffs. A lot of people might have an issue with this. I personally don't have an issue with this. It's a regular season award. It's been a regular season award forever, so I think he deserved it. Joe Mazzulla is a great coach, a great person, so I like this move, but what's your thoughts?
I will have to go with you on that. It's a great accomplishment, a great award for a great coach who had a great season with his team, despite losing his star player to a torn Achilles, but I think this is a good accomplishment for him. This will set him up for him as a coach going forward and into the foreseeable future. Just congrats to him. He deserves it. He had a great season with the Boston Celtics, even with Jason Tatum missing half the season and him coming back for the playoffs. That's still a great accomplishment for not only him, but for the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, certainly congrats to him. Kenny Atkinson will also return next season as the head coach of the Cavs after advancing to their first Eastern Conference final since 2018 when LeBron was there. And personally, I think this is great. I mean, I know that a lot of people say, well, they got swept, he shouldn't be there. But he's improved every year he's been there. Bringing in James Harden, I know everybody's going to criticize Harden for stuff he's done in the past, and we have to take that into consideration. But, I mean, they did make the Eastern Conference finals, and I think they may have even an opportunity to bring in LeBron next year. So I like that Atkinson's staying. I think he's going to do a good job. I know he's not everyone's favorite, but like I said, the Eastern Conference Finals still nothing to snub your nose at. So I think that I think it's a great move.
To be honest with you, I agree with you on every front that you just said. I know that he has really progressed through his whole coaching career from the Brooklyn Nets all the way up to the Cavaliers. He's come a long way, and I just hope that he can get back to winning a championship, hopefully next year and into the foreseeable future, but he doesn't deserve all the criticism that has come his way into how fans have treated him as far as they want him gone for being swept and not having James Harden and Donovan Mitchell on the same page in this Eastern Conference Finals. But I really do like this move from the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think they got it right, and I just wish the best for Kenny and his family and for the Cavaliers and for their fan base. Major League Baseball, if it expanded for the first time since '98, Utah is no longer a long shot. It's squarely in the middle of the conversation. Conversations picked up even more steam this last week when USA Today's MLB columnist Bob Nightingale reported that Utah and Nashville are viewed as heavy favorites for the league's 31st and 32 franchises. And to be honest, when I read that article, I was just ecstatic. I thought there was no way that Utah was going to get into the MLB in the foreseeable future, but we have risen to the top of the ranks for a franchise and expansion. And the other teams who didn't have as much of an accomplishment for being a franchise, I hope the best for those cities, but we rose to the top in these talks, and I think it's just going to be a great thing for the state of Utah. You have seen so far how Utah sports have come from RSL to the Jazz to the Mammoth to the Grizzlies, who are now headed out of town, but all these sports teams in Utah have really put a dagger on this whole sports spectacular in Utah, and I just am really thrilled to see how far sports have grown here in the state of Utah over the last 15, 20 years. And how do you feel about that?
I love it. I mean, I think that it's a great stride for our state. We have the Olympics coming back in 2034. I think people are kind of glossing over that a little bit, but Major League Baseball getting a team here would be super exciting. We'll have to see how those conversations progress, but to hear that we are, in fact, in the conversation for a Major League Baseball team is super exciting for our state. It's super exciting for our fans, and I think it's going to be great for us going forward. I don't know exactly where we're going to build the stadium, but I do think we'll find a way to make that happen, and I think sports are going to continue to expand here, and it's an exciting time to be a Utah sports fan, and that's why we're here to cover it on this show. Is there's a lot of good things going on, and we're super excited to keep covering it, and we will keep you guys posted on anything we hear about Major League Baseball's conversation about a Major League Baseball team.
And they're saying that it will be in the Power District, which is kind of past the arena before the airport. I think that place is going to be rocking. It's going to be loud, electric, if the expansion team does happen. But for right now, we will see where these talks land. But this is big news for the state of Utah. And I'm sure that if this does happen, the revenue of this state is just going to keep going up and up and up. And I think that Ryan Smith should be the owner of that team, since he is the owner of the Jazz and the Mammoth. To see what he has done with those teams and see what he could do with an MLB team, it's very, very exciting. And I am very thrilled to be a Utah sports fan and to be a Utahn and to see how far sports has come in the state of Utah. And I'm just really thrilled for what we have seen so far in this state with sports, how far it has come. So I look forward to all these talks that are ongoing, but I hope that it does happen in the next, I don't know how many ever years they want it, but it'll be exciting. And I hope that you will be thrilled as well when it does happen. But for right now, we'll just have to sit and wait and see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. But it is exciting times in the sports landscape in Utah, and we would like to thank everyone for tuning into our podcast today. We appreciate all the support and love from all you fans out there. Appreciate Zach and the opportunity I have to do this podcast with him. And yeah, we will see you guys all on episode 21.
We will see you guys on episode 21.